All righty, welcome in. You made it to Friday. Congratulations. It is the Chico Bormann Show on this Friday afternoon. Beautiful day. Beautiful day on the lakefront here at the, BLA? Is that where we're going to start just calling Burke Lakefront Airport? BLA, where our studio's, Bohm? Is that?
I still haven't gotten used to that yet. I'm just calling it Burke Lakefront Airport.
Yeah, it's kind of
wordy. It's wordy.
So
yeah.
It's kind of like, BLA, I guess, is, I don't know if I'm allowed to. There might, but that's what I'm going with.
I think
right
if
now.
that were a fair or foul question, it would be very fair.
All right. Well, Bohm, thank you for that, because that's the deciding factor. All righty. We are set to go on this Friday. Great to have you along. Of course, you can stream us. We stream each and every day, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3. On Twitter, go to @ChicoShowCLE. You can also find us on YouTube and go to the Chico Bormann Show. Hit subscribe. We appreciate that. And we'll be all set to go. A lot to get to on this Friday coming up in just a bit. He's already here, ready to go. I'm telling you, man, you can never, ever truly know, like, what EK is going to do. Like, EK's the one guy, I know he's going to show up, but I never know if, like, Bohm, you know this over the years, like, I'll get a little nervous, like, oh, I didn't hear back from him, but I know he's really busy. And EK is a guy, I'm going to ask him this. I think he deliberately has his voicemail on his cell phone filled. Like, so nobody can, and this is for like 3 years. Like, I get it for like a few weeks.
He's nodding yes.
A month, 6 months. Yeah. Oh, he's definitely, yeah, I can see him too. We're going to be talking to him in just a little bit here. But he is definitely that guy. And the sole reason he does it is so you cannot leave a message. So he can say, well, I wasn't able to get, I left you a voicemail, and sorry, didn't get it. So, but he always comes through. We got plenty to talk to him about, and we'll do that here in just about 10 minutes. All right, you want to join the show? You want to call into the show, 216-626-7901. Boom, I walked in today, and you had a baseball glove and a baseball just kind of sitting alone in the hall. I felt like I was walking into a high school as like a JV kid was getting ready to go out for practice. Like, you were just sitting all by your lonesome. What's the deal?
Well, I was just hoping someone might stroll in with a mitt to play catch with.
Play some catch. Yeah, that's what it looked.
It's been a while, Chico.
Yeah, it looked like you were just kind of looking to have a catch.
I used to get into the most heated debates with my New Jersey roommate in college about play catch versus have a catch. I would say play catch, and he would call me out and say, that's not how you say it. It's have a catch.
Have a catch is...
It's an East Coast thing.
Have a catch, though, is what... Not necessarily, because Ray Kuselias was...
East Coaster.
No, he wasn't.
Played for New York, didn't he?
No. The Kevin Costner. We're not going to do this again, are we? Field of Dreams. When he says, hey, Dad, want to have a catch? He doesn't say, you want to play a catch? Nobody says play a catch.
No, play catch.
I'm still trying to...
Wait, you say have a catch? Like, actually?
I mean, yeah, usually you'll say play catch. But I think the have a catch is more endearing because that it came from Costner's character to his dad. And, you know.
Totally. That was the first time I'd heard of it.
Yeah. So I was worried there for a second. I thought we were going to go down the Michael Block territory. When Bohm, by the way, we just tweeted that out a little while ago from 2 days ago after the PGA. Bohm really was convinced like Michael Block was just working the deli department at Heinen's or something. So, you You mean like he didn't, so he's not on tour? I'm like, no, he's not on tour. Well, then what does he do? I'm like, Bohm, didn't you hear me say he's a club pro in Mission Viejo? No. What? Oh, right over his head. Like, yeah, he's just, had a tough time getting off from Heinen's, but they eventually told him that if he finished top 15, they would they'd pay him for the dates off, and it worked out for him. But speaking of the PGA, we're going to talk a little PGA. One pet peeve I have, I mentioned this a little bit on Monday, but we'll mention this again with our buddy EK, because there's really nothing that is off limits when it comes to Erik Kuselias. All right, real quick, Bone, we got to start here. Dead wrong on the Miami Heat Celtics series. I thought. Now, I know, okay, you're up 3-0. Boston's going to come out with the, backs against the wall, and they lose, and their season's done, and they're making tea times and whatever. And I felt like Erik Spoelstra, the way they were playing, the way he was coaching, you had the internal discord, as you like to call it. Joe Mazzulla and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, it just seemed like it had all the ingredients for the sweep. And we'd have 2 sweeps, Nuggets, Heat, going into the finals, and then something crazy happened along the way. And here, the Miami Heat have dropped 2 in a row. Game 6 is tomorrow night in South Beach. And 150 teams have been up 3-0, Michael Bohm, in a series. Not one of them, not one, has ever come back to win that series. Now, there was a time way back in 2016 where our Cleveland Cavaliers, they said, well, somebody may have said, this is so great that he's actually on hold for this, by the way. When the Cavs went down 3-1, I thought it was done. I thought they were over. And I'm talking to EK, and I'm like, yeah, it's done. The season's done. They're not going to win 3 straight. And he's like, no, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, EK, we've watched the games. I mean, yeah, I know it sounds good to say, fight, but enough of the cliches. They're done. And he's like, you're crazy. I think they are going to be coming back in this one. And he was right on both counts, unfortunately for me. Or fortunately and unfortunately for me, because I did come off crazy there.
That's one of those things that's worth being wrong about, Chico.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But to this day, and I know he hasn't forgotten it, I haven't forgotten. You know what? To hell with it. Let's bring him in early. I mean, he sat in the makeup chair early, and he got his makeup done because he's got a TV gig. He's a pretty boy. He's got to get all that stuff. And Erik Kuselias from CBSSports.com. EK, Shades, you kind of talk to me, Goose. Talk to me.
First of all, so what I've heard is my motto is EK, he'll show up. That's the first thing he said, which could be on my tombstone. That's all I got. He'll show up. And now I'm a pretty boy who put makeup. I don't have any makeup on. My hair's still wet. I was hoping for another 3 or 4 minutes to get it dry. I showered for this, and I showed up. That's all you get. I'm ready to go. I'm all fired up. No. But I will start with this. Field of Dreams is the single most overrated sports movie of all time. It's slow. It's an hour and a half of boring me to tears until do you want to play a catch or have a catch or whatever the hell you want to call it at the end. The rest of the movie is dreadfully slow.
Okay, I would say it's certainly not as great as some people make it out to be, but I can't say the most overrated. Like it, no. I mean,
fine. Give me a more overrated sports movie that everybody thinks is awesome and brings you to tears that you acknowledge for the first hour and a half is slow.
Oh, that brings you to tears. So we're going
people think it's great. That's my point. Give me a sports movie that people think is great.
Well,
great.
EK, listen, you know better than anybody because you're in the entertainment business and you're great with the analogies and you know how to read people. It's about tugging at those heartstrings, relatability, and somebody. I mean, I remember seeing that in the theater, and it was with family friends of ours. And now, honestly, I didn't cry. I was like the only one. Like, so either I'm heartless, I didn't get it, whatever. But everybody else down the row, I mean, they're not just, it's not like a tear trickling down their cheek. It was like all out bawling. So the relatability factor, that alone makes it okay. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think it's like the world's best sports movie, but it's not that
Give
bad.
me a grade for the movie. Give me a grade for the entire movie, Field of Dreams, right now.
I'm ready. B-. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. And the whole world kills us because we say it's a B-. People are going to be screaming at you. They're going to be lining up outside the studio ready to accost you when you walk to your car.
They do that anyway.
It's a B-. And I'm telling you, that's right. It is a B- movie. We agree. Field of Dreams is a B-, no better.
Okay.
Boom.
Now that we're on the subject, then, what is the best sports movie ever made? And we could. This is so tough because if I go comedy, it's got to be either Caddyshack or Major League. You go drama. I mean, it's tough. But your favorite sports movie of all time?
You know, and you're right. It's what counts as a sports movie, right?
Right.
Is it because it has a sports theme in it, or is it really a sports movie? I mean, Caddyshack's hard to beat, right? It's just hard to beat.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard to beat. I mean, that's the standard. I mean, you can be as good. Slapshot's really good. You mentioned Major League. The one that's underrated for me is I love Miracle. I think Miracle was tremendously well done.
Now, see,
I think it's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I liked Miracle. There's a lot of people that like Miracle. I always forget with the, like, do you consider the Rocky movies, are those sports? I mean, those were back in, when I was growing up as a kid, I was peeing my pants waiting for Rocky 4 in the theater. Like, I couldn't wait. Like, I was still to this day, I like them. But, I mean, I was really into it. But
I like Rocky 2 as my favorite of the Rockies. You got the double training scene,
yeah,
where first he does that, and then he runs through the streets, and all the kids follow him, and he's finally on the steps, and everybody's jumping up and down. The fight scene against Apollo, I think, is the best one. The Clubber Lang one doesn't hold up; it's cheesy now when you watch it. Rocky 4. Why are the peasants in the single best seats ringside? You know, Russian peasants who can't afford bread are sitting ringside at the fight of the century. That doesn't make any sense. If you can change, I can change, we can change. That speech doesn't hold up. So Rocky 4 is out. Rocky 1 is slow until the end. That's more cinematic and for, you know, the theater kind of crowd. Rocky 2 is the sweet spot. That's the best one.
This is what I love about you. Erik Kuselias, CBSSports.com. I'm gonna totally push back to you on Rocky 3. Rocky 3 was, I mean, Mickey was such a huge part of Rocky's life, right, and the movie itself, that when he goes down, I mean, you know, he feels like everything was, it was all just, it wasn't real. What? Nothing's real anymore, Adrian. Remember that scene on the beach where he's like, how did everything that was so good get so bad, Adrian? Like, he doesn't know. And he's like...
By the way, not terrible by you. That's not a terrible Rocky. I got to be honest. It's not terrible.
You know, you got a big mouth, you know?
Come on. But that doesn't hold up to Adrian in the hospital, in a coma, waking up, and him saying, if you don't want me mixing with Creed anymore, we'll make out some other kind of way. And she says, come here. There's one thing I want you to do for me. Win. And then the music starts. What are we waiting for? Take this. It's the next morning. He's doing one-arm push-ups. It's barely light out. Then he starts hitting with the hammer. The music's coming at you. Here we go. And then as soon as that's done, he puts his kid down, running through the streets of Philly. The whole city's chasing him. And he goes right up to the steps with all the kids. Rocky 2 is the sweet spot.
I always say 2 and 3 are right there for me. 2 and 3. 4 is good too, but 2 and 3 for me is really yeah, that one's tough. I was just gonna say something about 2 and it completely blanked. Yeah, 2 is so good again because he's, I mean, the underdog of all underdogs. And he really has, in real life, come on, the odds for that, it would have been James Buster Douglas. Like, no way. He had any prayer. Yeah, absolutely, baby.
Yeah, and last thing, Rocky 2 was smart enough to start by starting with the end of Rocky 1 and the greatest single expression in all the Rockies when the guy is battered and beat and Creed knocks him down and thinks it's over and walks away with his back turning like this and then turns around and Rocky's standing up and will not go down. I was like, come on, let's keep going. And they show Creed and he just looks like, what the hell do I have to do? Apollo can't believe it. I mean, that's when you know you're ready. When the other side is like, there's nothing else I can do. You will not go down. That is the personification of the human spirit refusing to go down. And they replayed it to start 2. They were smart enough to do it. 2 is the best one.
Okay, by the way, when, because you mentioned it, the scene where he leaves the hospital immediately, he's doing the one-arm push-ups. But remember when Mickey, because he gets him the chicken, he's trying to get him speed. He's like, brings me luck. Brings flies. That's what it brings.
It's not very mature.
So many good stuff. Dummy card. Adrian, I'm no dummy. I might be a little punchy, but I'm no dummy. All right. Erik Kuselias joining us on CBS Sports.
I can't believe how good you are at that.
It's about the only talent I have, EK. That's
Uh-huh.
All right. So speaking of underdogs, the Miami Heat got off to a 3-0, 3-0 lead against Boston. And, okay, Boston was going to win 1, maybe. I didn't even think that would happen. But they're not going to win 2. And I told the story from 2016. Now, this is not 3-1. This is 3-0. But do you believe, look into that crystal ball of yours, does Boston come all the way back? 150 teams have never done it. Does Boston do it in this series?
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, and even though the odds say they don't, the series odds right now are still Miami favored in the series. Even though Boston is favored in Game 6 and will be favored in Game 7, to win both, it's like if something has a 60% chance of happening, the odds of it happening 2 times in a row are under 50%. So Miami is still favored in the series, but I will take Boston. And the 150 thing is interesting. And I talked about this yesterday on the show. The 4-minute mile was something that nobody could break, right? You just couldn't break.
Yep. You got it.
Okay. Science at the time said the human legs to actually do it. And then as soon as one guy, Roger Bannister, did it, a whole bunch of people did it in the next year, and now high schoolers do it. It turned out the block was just as mental as it was physical. And in this situation, I think there's a little bit of, we don't know somebody can do it until they do it. But right now, Boston is in a very good stead. I mean, it's not 3-0 anymore. They just have to win 2. All we need is 2 right now if you're a Celtic fan, and you got to go down to Miami. And Miami's beat up. Tyler Hero,
yep.
Gabe Vincent. They're down 2 starters. Boston's better right now, and they have the momentum.
And they're younger, and Butler's 33, and that was another reason why I thought they'd make quick work, because I thought Spoelstra would. Not that he didn't. I mean, of course, I'm sure they were aware that, hey, we want to finish these guys off as quickly as possible. But that was one of the storylines that I thought, you know what, they won't even let it get to be a storyline because Spoelstra's too good. But you're right, Vincent and they. I mean, Derek White and Marcus Smart, I mean, those guys took advantage of it on both ends of the floor. So I'm hedging a little bit. I think you. All right, I'm going to say it. I said that there was no way that Boston had a chance in this series, just like I said there was no way the Cavs were going to come back from down 3-1. Now, hopefully it won't get pitchforks like what I said about the Cavs in 2016. Boston's gonna win this series. Boom, write it down. Boston's gonna win this series, and if they don't, then blame EK, not me. All right, let me talk about Denver for a moment, because I feel like teams nowadays, even if it's the Kansas City Chiefs or whoever, heavy favorites. Well, everybody doubted us. Nobody gave us any credit. Everybody disrespected us, but EK, the Denver Nuggets truly have, and I know they play out in Denver and whatever, but Denver has just basically just been completely disrespected. First it was, they could very well lose in the first round of Minnesota, and then, they beat Phoenix, then they take on the big bad Lakers are playing so well, and they knocked them off, and I mean, did so in 4 games. And it's not just Jokic; it's Jamal Murray as well. I think this Denver team, I'm excited to watch because I think Jokic. Tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think Jokic is the type of player that you really do need to sit down and watch for hopefully one full game at least. But if you can watch him and we get him on the biggest stage for a series, I think people are now going to realize, oh, so that's what all the hype is about.
Yeah, I think Jokic is the best player in the world right now. Right now.
Yeah.
Maybe next year it'll be somebody else. But he should have won the MVP this year. You and I talked about it. I've been screaming from mountaintops. Joel Embiid was not a worthy MVP. I think it was completely media-driven to not give it to Jokic again. I could even see voting for Giannis. I thought Embiid was a distant third. But Jokic, you could see right now, he's the best player in the world. But, your first point about Denver being disrespected, I don't feel bad about that. I mean, they have been a team that has come up small in previous years. When you suck, don't get mad at me for assuming that you're going to suck again.
But they've been in first since October. I mean, it's like everybody's thinking, like, wow, what a shock. We thought they'd go out in the first round. Like, they got to have some talent.
But in previous years,
yeah,
they had been a paper tiger that doesn't show up in the playoffs. So if we assume you're not going to show up in the playoffs again, don't get mad at us. You have to prove me wrong. If I'm betting the streak and then the streak ends, don't get mad at me because I was betting the streak. And the streak said the Denver Nuggets don't show up in big spots in the playoffs. And now they did this year. So I say, congratulations. They earned it. I'm giving them their props now, but you have to earn props from me. And they hadn't and didn't until this year.
What did you make of okay, I'll just ask it point blank and not sidestep it or anything like that. But what did you make of LeBron's comments in his press conference about the retirement and a lot of things to think about? And it seemed pretty planned to me, strategic.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. I mean, look, there's 2 ways to look at this. One, maybe he was in the moment, tired, and never, ever make a big or important decision when you're tired, hungry, stressed, or the wound is still fresh. Right? You just don't do that. Right? Yeah, get yourself a good night's sleep, a nice hot meal, clean up with a shower, let some time go by, and then if you still want out, okay, got it. But don't make the decision in the moment. And the second thing is, I think there's a little LeBron feeling like, hey, you're going to miss me when I'm gone. And I need to remind you of that. Like, I've been doing this and doing it well for 2 decades. Like, maybe if I threaten to get out, I'll get that little, no, please don't go, please don't go, please don't go.
And LeBron needs that from people. That's the one thing.
They all need it. They all need it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a LeBron, because here, as you can imagine, people are divided right down the middle. Some people can't stand him. I've always loved LeBron. Actually, one of the things I like about LeBron, EK, is that, in Miami, remember when he initially went down there and like he was trying to embrace the villain role like MJ or Kobe would, and it was like, LeBron, this ain't you. You're not that type of guy. You're a guy that does care what people think. So I think with him that stuff is important. Whereas, yeah, I mean, everybody wants to be liked. I don't think it's as important to some. For LeBron, I think it's very, very, very important.
Look, Michael Jordan famously said Republicans buy shoes too. He didn't want to offend anybody. Michael Jordan would not get involved in anything controversial because he didn't want to make any enemies. He wanted everybody to love him. And now, you say anything bad about Jordan, it goes crazy. Jordan famously, remember when ESPN did their 50 greatest athletes? Jordan said, if I'm not number 1, I'm not sitting and I'm not contributing for it. So they had to put him number 1 if they wanted to talk to him. Jordan cares about his legacy and what people think about him too. They all do. And LeBron's no different. The one thing I always admire about LeBron always shows up in shape and ready to go.
Yep.
Right? And that's what not everybody does. And that guy always shows up. I mean, that guy's fucking 40. He's had a lot of tread off the tires. And that guy shows up like he's just been working out 12 hours a day in the offseason. God bless LeBron's work ethic for showing up ready to go. And he gives you a supreme effort. They got swept. They had nothing to play for in that game 4. It looked like they were going down. And what, he put 40 on the board in a loss? LeBron is never sick at sea in terms of effort and showing up, ready to play.
All right. You froze up there. Let's hope See, now some people when they freeze, it's a kind of goofy look, but EK, it's that TV thing going on, right? He knows that he knows when it might freeze, so he knows that he's got to have a good face on. We'll try to reconnect with Erik Kuselias here in just a moment. Yeah, and again, I was playing a little bit of devil's advocate there. Like LeBron James is obviously, I always say it, like I think some of us don't even come close to appreciating him as much as we should. And from a national standpoint, I'm glad he touched on it. Like, this guy has played 20 years, and okay, yeah, you've been somewhat fortunate with injuries, but by and large, that's also because you've worked your ass off in every offseason to get better and better and better. So we will all right, let me tell him to reconnect. Is he back? He's back. See, I knew he'd show up. All right, EK, what were you? You kind of got disconnected there. I was basically saying with LeBron, I do agree with you. I mean, I absolutely believe that here is a guy that when he plays, 20, 21 years, nobody really gives him enough credit for what that takes and then what that takes to play at that level. But it almost felt like, okay, here's the disrespect card with Denver again. Like, it just seemed like you couldn't open up by saying, hats off to Jokic. And I don't, it seemed a little too much. And I support the guy, but it seemed a little too much.
You might be right. And I mean, maybe we're nitpicking here. I just think it's kind of like, look, if you've been a great spouse for 21 years, on your birthday and on, the anniversary and all that, you want to be reminded, and you want people to know how great you are. And that guy has been great for 2 decades. And maybe this was a little bit of, you're going to miss me when I'm gone. And at some point I will be gone. And hey, it could be now, just so you're like, no, please don't go. I think there was a little of that.
Okay. That's fair enough. Erik Kuselias, CBSSports.com, joining us. By the way, you mentioned that Michael Jordan thing about if he wasn't number one, he wouldn't sit down. How do you think I've been able to land you? I don't know if people know this, the inside story of the Chico Bormann, Erik. I constantly have to tell him, EK, you're my number one. He is, actually. He's been with me for the cold, dark days in good old Erie, Pennsylvania. But yeah, occasionally I have to massage your ego too and tell you how great you are. We all need that.
I am the Michael Jordan of the Chico Bormann show. I'm okay with that.
Put that in your resume, baby.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to need you to look into that crystal ball again, because you kind of have a pretty good winning percentage. Cleveland Guardians are 7 games below 500 for the first time since 2015. Now, you talk about giving the benefit of the doubt. That team should be given the benefit of the doubt. Unfortunately, here in Cleveland, and it's a weird dynamic, you might not understand it, the Browns are given so much leash, it's unbelievable. The Guardians, one little thing, they'll nitpick. But it has been their offense has been dreadful, like dead last in pretty much every category. Will the Guardians, EK, here's May 26th, and happy Jose Canseco, 30 years ago, he had the fly ball bounce off his head here in Cleveland and went over the wall for a home run. But on May 26th, will the Guardians still win the American League Central Division?
No, they will not. How about that? No. And look, I don't pander to the crowd. When I believe, I tell you I believe. I believe that Cleveland, when they were down 3-1, I said, don't panic. You're going to win the championship. When you guys drafted Johnny Manziel and everybody was all toasting champagne, I'm like, that's the stupidest pick I've ever seen. Yep. He's going to be terrible for you. I don't think the Cleveland Guardians are winning the division. I just don't. I think you got about a 25% chance to win the division. I'll put it at that right now. No better than 25%. I think the Minnesota Twins are the absolute, without question, clear favorite. I'll tell you right now. You give me the Twins, I'll give you everybody else in the division even money. I'll bet anything you want.
I'll think about that. You
know what? Let's look at keep talking. I'll look up the odds right now.
Okay.
I'll tell you exactly what.
All right. Yeah. I just something feels off, and it's easy to say, well, just look at the record. They're 7 games below 500 for the first time since 2015.
By the way, I was way off. Cleveland has a 22% chance of winning the division. So I actually was too high on you guys. You have a 22% chance to win the division right now, according to sportsbooks.
Because Tito can work his magic. As you know, from, you're familiar
I think that's about right. I think you're about 25% to win that division right now. Look, it just starts to become a math problem. You got about 100 games left. You're 7-8 games behind. If the Twins go 50-50, think about it. You got to go, 58-42 just to be even?
Yeah.
Starting to get hard now.
Yeah, it is. It is. And this series, again, we can say this about every series. Oh, this is a must-win series, must-win game. But this series with the Cardinals, who, by the way, started 10-24, and then, now they're 12-4 their last 16 or whatever it is. So I guess there's hope if you look at that. But they've got the Cardinals coming in town beginning tonight. We all know how well they're playing. This feels like one of those turning points. I know it's too cliche to say it, but, I mean, if they drop 2 out of 3 or, God forbid, get swept by the Cardinals, yikes. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right.
I don't know if you have the offense to go 12 out of 15, and you need to do that. Like you talked about it. Like you're gonna have a stretch where you go 12-3 against somebody if you're gonna win this division. And I don't know if this year right now you have the offense to roll out and just rock people and be 12-3 over a 15-game stretch. But if you don't go 12-3 in a 15-game stretch, you just don't have the real estate left with the games you're behind to make up and win the division. I think you're about 25%.
A few more minutes with Erik Kuselias, CBSSports.com. EK, what'd you think of the PGA Championship?
I mean, I think it's fascinating. I still love discussing and talking about the LIV Golf versus the PGA Tour. And the vitriol that some people heave at the guys who went to LIV, I just don't understand. And I get if you want to stay in the PGA Tour, I get it. But look, I never get mad at somebody for doing something that I might do in the same situation. And if someone offered me a job where I worked a lot less and made a lot more money, and I could do it in my shorts at a pace that I wanted to do it in, and I was sort of more of a partner and in control, how could you be mad at me if I said yes? I'm not saying you have to say yes, but I don't know why people are all fired. Brooks Koepka should be on the Ryder Cup team. That's it. And if the Ryder Cup, here's the problem, Chico. If the Ryder Cup doesn't pick the LIV guys, they're going to make martyrs of the LIV guys. Then the LIV guys are going to have the moral high ground. So they got to be careful there. You don't want to give that away. Right now, the LIV guys are the bad guys in the public eyes. If you keep them off the Ryder Cup team, then they're going to evoke sympathy, and it's going to look like you're the petty ones.
That's, I'll tell you what, fascinating point there, fascinating angle with it. I'll take it a step further. One of the things that has bothered me, not so much with the LIV Tour like itself and guys leaving, it's not so much that, but like we hear this and we heard it again because Koepka won, like, well, see, it's kind of like that whole disrespect card again. Like, well, hey, we're proving to people, for God's sake, you're Brooks Koepka, Scotty Scheffler, like John. These are great players. So please stop acting like you guys are just ranked 380th in the world and a former greenskeeper about to become the Masters champion. Stop.
No, but that's it. The LIV Golf Tour. But the problem is the LIV Golf Tour has great golfers, and they probably have guys. Their tour's probably at least at the top just as good as the PGA Tour, and the PGA Tour doesn't want to admit that because then people start go watch the LIV Tour, and I'm not watching the LIV Tour. I'll tell you right now.
I don't even know how to find it.
But if they keep it up, they're going to, because they have essentially endless pockets to weather the storm. You don't want to go into business underfunded. They are not. So they can last as long as they want until some network says they have too many damn guys that we don't want to ignore. The public wants to see Brooks Koepka every week. We got to put this thing on TV. And that's what the PGA Tour doesn't want. But my thing when I'm looking at it is I just say to myself, I don't know why. If you leave these guys off the Ryder Cup team to stick it to them because they're LIV Golf guys, then they become the martyrs and the PGA Tour becomes the bad guys. And that switches, and you don't want to do that for your PGA Tour. So if I were advising the PGA Tour, I'd say put these guys on the Ryder Cup team.
If you can't make ends meet with $640 billion, then yeah, that's definitely not underfunded by any stretch of the imagination. All right, I'm going to let you go. I know you got duties for the picking up the kids, and then you got work and all that good stuff. A couple things. One, is the Kuselias pool open? Memorial Day is usually one of those the faux.
Yeah.
Is the
Why do you
Kuselias
think my
pool?
hair's wet? I was swimming all morning. Yeah, absolutely. That's it. The pool is open.
When did it
I don't
open?
know how to open
Like
it.
Easter?
I'm in Connecticut, so it's exactly the same weather where you guys are, basically.
Okay.
It's been incredibly unseasonably warm. So this sucker opened about 10 days ago, and then they got to put in, whatever diatomaceous earth and chlorine or whatever the hell these things are. I don't know. I just do what I'm told. And then it takes 3 or 4 days for it to look, crystal blue water. So I will send you a picture as soon as we get off the air. It is lovely this time of year, and Chico is more than invited, and so is Bohm. Tell him to come on over. We'll play catch in the backyard.
Bohm can perform. Bohm is a rocker. He goes on tour, so Bohm could perform for like a mini party at the at EK's Funhouse is what I call it.
My kids play 4 instruments, and I have a music room, so they will back him up with drums or bass or guitar or piano. He can be the lead. I'll put up a stage right by the pool. I got the burgers going. We have a basketball hoop in the yard.
Yep.
We have a full wiffle ball stadium out on the grass. I got bocce if you want to go old school. I got a slide, a diving board. I got wireless speakers. We will blow this thing out all day. Do the show from here. What are you waiting for?
Can we replay the synchronized dancing in Caddyshack? Speaking of that movie,
absolutely. Caddies will, and I'll put up a sign: Chico welcome, 12 to 12:15, just like the caddies.
All right, I promise. Last thing, never too early fantasy football question. People have their mock drafts out already. It's never too early for them, I guess. Are you okay with? I know Bijan Robinson is an incredible talent, but I'm seeing people taking him mock drafts top 5, top 7.
No.
Would you do that?
No.
Okay.
No. Look,
okay. Feel better.
I don't have a problem with rookie running backs because largely what you've seen is running back position is something you can make an impact at as a rookie. There's not a lot. Pass protection is now the big thing. How quickly can you pick that up? Because if you can't pick up the reads and the blitzes and the audibles at the line immediately, then you got to come off the field and third down because you're going to get your quarterback killed. That's what you see. So old school, those guys could sit there and be 3-down guys. Now, until they pick up pass protection, they can't be 3-down guys. So you have to wonder how quickly they can get that and be on the field all these plays. But I would never bank my season on a guy I've never seen in uniform in the pros. No, absolutely not. To me, I would go a little farther down. I would take him high, but
Right.
I would not anyway take him in the first round.
Okay, we'll have. And by the way, once the season begins and we get to fantasy draft season, yeah, we'll be talking plenty to EK because he will, as he always does, show up. By the way, why are you picking your kid up if he can outrun your vehicle?
Well, he could, but I got to pick up my younger one. My older one is mono.
Oh,
mono got out of high school graduation. Tonight's supposed to be the prom. We're trying to figure this out right now. So he may just show up for the pictures and then get out of there. But he's in a tough spot. But my younger one, I got to go get him. Baseball player.
EK,
so that's it.
Let us know how that plays out. That's not fair. He's worked his tail off. He gets to this point. He's going to Brown on a track.
You know what? He's got it. I'm not crying any tears for him. He's got it pretty good. He'll be all right.
EK, you got it pretty good too, but you deserve it. Damn it. CBSSports.com. Follow him on Twitter at Fantasy EK. You're the best, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Always a pleasure to be on.
All right. That is Erik Kuselias here on the Chico Bormann Show on the Big Play Network. When he gets going. I love it. Bohm, you're invited. I think you would be the entertainment portion.
Well, we could get a little band going with me and the EK kids.
Yeah, and
Mr. Bombastic and the Kuseliases.
Mike and I've told you this. I like the name. What's the name of your band?
The one in New York is called Dead Superstar.
Kind of.
I didn't make the name.
Gloomy, dark.
Well, it refers to a supernova, not like a dead superstar, but like a dead, like dead sun, dead super.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, but like people don't think of that first.
I like Mike and the Bombastics. Like, you remember that band, Mike and the Mechanics?
Yeah.
But not a good band.
Give it up for the Bombastics.
Mike and the Bombastics, I think, is outstanding. Which actually is your Twitter handle. Which, again, by the way, I don't do this a lot. I mean, we're always retweeting and clips that our great social man Nick Padone puts out there, and he does a great job with that, promoting the show. I don't necessarily retweet and then tell you on the air to go check him out. This one I am, because it's Bohm. Are we able to play it with? We probably can't. We'll find a way.
What do you want to play?
I want to play the clip that he just put out.
Oh yeah,
of
stand by.
I
could play the audio.
Go. Yeah, that's all we need. Go ahead and play the audio. Go ahead. This is. I'll give you a minute. You got to get it hooked up. Okay. So, right after Michael Block, I think he finished top 15, tied for 15th, I think, in the PGA Championship. And again, it's a great story because, with the PGA Championship, it's wide open, and these club pros, and they can qualify, and then, man, they may. So then, a lot of times they'll just say, they don't make the cut, but maybe on the first day, one of them shot a 68. So Michael Block shot a 68, but then, he shot a 77 because the course is tough, and these guys are better players than he is, and they play more, and he's just a club pro from Mission Viejo, California. Well, Michael Block really became, in addition to Koepka and all that, became a big story because he's a club pro, and this is very important as I'm setting this clip up, because he's a club pro from Mission Viejo, California, and I mentioned that at least 3 times before this unraveled. Go ahead and give this a listen. Touring pro, you're all about
I wonder
that.
what he does on his day job.
You know what a club pro does.
Oh, is that what he is? He's just a club pro, and he just decided to compete?
What did I... Yes! Didn't I just say that? That's how he got the chance.
Chico, my mind is like...
He's a club pro out in Mission... That's why we said Mission Viejo, California.
Totally went right over my head.
Yeah, he's a... Forget it. Go ahead.
All right, well, I got a bunch of NBA ones. Let's just pretend that didn't
Is that what he does? No, Bohm. Actually, he works for the Parks and Rec department in Mission Viejo. Yeah. He's not a touring pro. Bohm, God love you. Like, you can laugh at yourself. I can laugh at myself. And I mean, everybody laughs at me. Well, usually making fun of me, but that's okay. Like, you've got to be able to do that in life. But hats off to Padone for finding that. I remembered it. It was hilarious, but I forgot about it until today, and I saw that he put that out there. That's already in the top 3. I don't even know how many we have. We might only have, I don't know. But that's in the top 3. Oh, and then I like how you say, oh, he's just a club pro? Yeah, he's just a slouch. He's a club pro. He's terrible. Probably like a 22 handicap or something, teaching others. What are you talking about? That's what he does? You mean like he plays golf? Wait, he teaches golf?
You mean to tell me that he doesn't bag groceries?
Be the ball, Danny. Be the ball. Just close your eyes and be the ball. It's kind of difficult with you talking to me like that. Not talking to you, Danny. Not talking to you, Danny. Now, you know Caddyshack lines, right, Bohm?
I wanted to bring up Milky Way when you were talking about doing the synchronized dancing.
Kuselias and I swear to God, we could have done an entire half hour, nothing but Caddyshack lines. And I think it's got to be the best. Again, with sports movies, it's too easy to say, like, okay, hey, what's your favorite sports movie? You got to break it down into, like, drama, comedy, all that. Major League, I'm biased because it is so hilarious. It is well done. Much like Caddyshack, it has a great, great cast. Caddyshack's cast, though, you think about that cast back in the day, and they didn't all get along. But unbelievable what they were able to turn out.
Rodney Dangerfield, arguably and considered by many still the greatest comedian of all time. And I mean, yeah, I keep thinking about that line now that we're talking about Caddyshack when the ball hits him in the arm and he fakes the injury.
Oh, my arm.
My arm. Yeah, but I want to just circle back real quick because EK was talking about Field of Dreams being the most overrated sports movie of all time.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion that I would like to submit, if it pleases the court.
Okay, now, hang on a second. Hang on, approach. Now, for this to be, because I have a feeling I know where you might go with this, so let me just set this up as, if it's going to be overrated, it has to be
good,
mostly considered like a movie that people like a
Yeah.
popular movie.
Yeah, I think I see this one ranked atop lists of best football movies quite often.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to say Any Given Sunday is very overrated. So he talked about how Field of Dreams was too slow. Any Given Sunday was too fast. It like everything was just too chaotic for me. The way that the cinematography, the way the scene, like everything changes so quickly. It felt too
Look at
fast
you,
paced to
Steven
follow.
Spielberg.
Well,
You're very, very impressive, Bohm. You're
I'm
such
an
a dynamic.
artiste.
You're a dynamic person. You really are. Well, the cinematography was too fast. The lighting was not exactly what I thought it should be.
I do love though that there's some iconic scenes in that movie, like Jim Brown and Lawrence Taylor going at it.
Yes,
You know, some of their
yes.
contentions. That stuff I really do love. But I think that movie is still overrated. And I love Oliver Stone. Great director.
Okay, let me ask you this one. And by the way, 216-626-7901 if you want to chime in. You can also do so on Twitter. We are streaming right now live on Twitter, as we do each and every day, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3, at Chico Show CLE, and on YouTube. Go to the Chico Bormann Show and hit subscribe. This movie, we talk about movies that tug at the heartstrings, and I mentioned that with that, Dad, you want to have a catch, and EK, laughed at it, which most people do. But
Is this heaven?
Ray,
No, it's Iowa.
that's the other thing. I like the back and forth between Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones. Good stuff, really good stuff. But I feel like I'm going to get crushed for this because it's a sad story and it's a great Brian song.
I haven't seen that one, but I'm familiar with it. I know it's about
Gail Sayers'
yeah.
roommate. Yeah, okay.
Brian Piccolo.
Yeah, Brian Piccolo had cancer.
I know it's a heartbreaking story.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is sad, but I guess what I'm wondering is, like, was it that well done? Was it a great movie, or is it just, wow, well, hell, it's a great story? You're going to have a hard time convincing people it's not good when a guy, dies of cancer and they're best of buddies and all that. But I don't know. I just, I thought about that.
Now, let me give you an underrated football movie just before we move on, because I want to give it a shout out because it is so
Draft
immensely
Day?
underrated. No.
The Browns 2016 season. Oh.
No, but it does involve Cleveland is mentioned in the very beginning of the movie as a football team taking on a team owned by one of the, I guess, antagonists of the story. The Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis. And,
I have not seen
and
that.
Damon Wayans.
I have not seen that.
I freaking love that. It is my favorite Bruce Willis dialogue.
Last Boy
Of,
Scout. Writing it
I
down.
mean, even amongst Die Hard and all of the flicks that Bruce has done, and there have been many great ones, to me, The Last Boy Scout, like his character and all the great one-liners that he drops are just like, I think that warrants a chef's kiss, Chico. Mwah! It is that good, and I freaking love that movie. And it's not super football-centric, but it all does revolve around some conspiracies dealing with a football team.
You got to be very, very careful with those chef's kisses, because if you start doing it too much, then it loses its luster. It's got to be for something very, very, I mean, we'll accept that. I'm just giving you a heads up. People will start to dismiss your chef's kiss if you give too many chef kisses.
That is fair, Chico. It's like The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Actually, chef's kisses, because if I said chef kisses, that implies that you're kissing chefs. I wouldn't. Whatever floats your boat. I don't.
Maybe I'm dating a chef?
Could be. Bam! All right, we will, nobody got that. We will take a timeout. When we come back, we got a little fair or foul, Michael Bohm edition. I also want to get back into this Celtics Heat thing, because this is, you heard Kuselias say he thinks the Celtics are going to do it. Again, 150 teams. 150 teams have been up 3-0. 0 have come back to win the series. We all know 3-1, that was also 0 until some team from Cleveland got it done. Yeah, baby. But EK thinks Boston's going to do it. I think, now I've been so wrong in this series, it's probably not even worth people to listen to this, but it feels like, much like I said, all the ingredients are there for Miami to sweep them. I feel like now all the ingredients are there when Miami's banged up. Boston, they got it Saturday. Tomorrow night's going to be tough. It's in South Beach. But, Boston has figured some things out. Bam Adebayo has become basically irrelevant, and he dominated in those first few games. Now they're just, they're giving him all kinds of hell. Jason Tatum, I think, has done a great job. And don't just be caught up with points with Jason Tatum, but now he's kind of letting it come to him, not playing frantic. Okay, you want to double me? I'll find the open guy, and he does. But there's another part of this that could get really interesting, and we'll talk about that later in the 2 o'clock hour. All right, so good stuff from Erik Kuselias. Again, we'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you. 216-626-7901. If you want to give me some impersonations, by the way, actor impersonate, like I do the horrible Rocky, but
EK loved it.
Yeah, it's all right.
I thought it was pretty good.
You got a big mouth, All right, we'll take a break. We come back. Fair or foul? That was foul. Chico Bormann Show right here on the Big Play Network. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Network. An absolutely splendid Friday afternoon here at Burke Lakefront Airport, where we broadcast Monday through Friday, 1 to 3. You can stream us on Twitter every day at Chico Show CLE. Also on YouTube, the Chico Bormann Show. Hit subscribe, and I think we went over 300 recently. Love you people. You're the best. You know that. I've said that. Just because I don't get along with all of them, just because we differ on certain opinions, doesn't mean I don't love you. And I do. All right. I'm going to get back into the Celtics Heat in a little while. But before we get to fair or foul, Bohm, I didn't see this drop. I was too busy chopping it up with EK, going with movie lines and overrated movies and stuff like that. DeAndre Hopkins, who had been at the center of trade speculation for months, has been cut or waived or whatever you want to say by the Arizona Cardinals. They saved some money here, about $8.5 million. What's interesting is, I'll tell you what, because you might have it in fair or foul. And honestly, you never tell me what's in fair or foul, and I don't like to know beforehand, so I won't say it in case you have it in fair or foul. But there's something that I know is probably buzzing amongst fans, and we'll get to it. Bohm, what do you got? Give me your fair or foul. Let's have a catch.
Yes.
Let's have a catch.
Well, back and forth here in today's edition of Fair or Foul. Well, I did, in fact, have the DeAndre Hopkins news in today's edition, as came as quite a shock to me, Chico. I'm kind of astonished that they couldn't even come away with a day 3 pick. That being said, now that it's not going to cost the team a draft pick to sign him, fair or foul, Browns need to make a move for DeAndre Hopkins.
Foul. Okay, look, if you can get him on the cheap, I'll preface it by saying, get him on the cheap, great. But, here's something I found interesting, and I don't know, I don't know the reason. Remember when DeAndre Hopkins, and it wasn't that long ago, he came out with that list of, teams he would like to play for, quarterbacks he'd like to play with? I don't think Deshaun Watson was, in his top 5. I could be wrong, but if I remember right, it was the obvious ones. I think Josh Allen was one. Burrow was in there. Patrick Mahomes obviously was in there, but he didn't have Deshaun. Now, I'm guessing what he's looking at is, as most of these guys are, hey, I don't want too much, just a lot of money, and I'd like to go to a contender that has a great offense, a great defense, and a stellar quarterback. So, if he had his choice, and right now, look, could the Browns surprise a lot of people? We certainly hope so. We think they could be primed to do so, but it's okay. Again, trust me, it's okay that not everybody sees the Browns as, they really haven't done anything. So, here's my problem with this, though. I think he still does get along with Deshaun Watson, I'm guessing. But that was kind of surprising that he didn't have him in there. And then, how many mouths do you need to feed? You know what I mean? And I don't know what it would. How much are you gonna have to take on? How much does he? How much does he want? How much? I don't know. It says the Bills, Ravens, and Patriots. I'm not exactly excited about. Put it this way. I'll take the Browns getting him so he doesn't go to Baltimore. But it says the Bills, Ravens, Patriots among the teams reportedly interested in pursuing Hopkins. I will say this. I think this makes sense for Arizona, right? You're right about they wanted to trade him. Apparently they couldn't get anything. But what's DeAndre Hopkins really going to give you this year? If you want to, I guess you could say, well, he gives you a superstar, gives you a great player, and all of that. But Kyler Murray's out for a little bit of the season. Who knows how he's going to return? You have Dave McAllister being a nuisance as usual. But that team is going to be a dumpster fire. They might end up with the worst record in football. Maybe Arizona's thinking about that. Hey, you know what? Yeah, maybe we just do everything we can to get that number 1 pick. But I'm not surprised. I guess it happened. A little bit surprised. But as far as the Browns, let's cool a little bit. You don't know if they can get him on the cheap and he's dying to come here, great. But I'll go foul on that.
And I'm also curious what Hopkins' expectations may be for his role in whatever team he may sign with. Like, is he going to come in? Is the expectation for him to be a wide receiver 1? Because I feel like the ideal plan would be to pair him with someone and make him a wide receiver 2.
Well, I mean, okay, so I meant the 3 teams that I mentioned that he's talked about and have expressed interest: the Bills, Ravens, and Patriots. Bills, he's co-number 1. Stephon Diggs is that number 1. Ravens, I think he's absolutely the number 1. Patriots, he's absolutely the number 1.
Yeah, no,
I mean, he can still play. He's still a very good receiver.
I wasn't going to ask this one yet, but you mentioned how Hopkins would be wide receiver 1 on the Ravens. And I thought it was interesting watching Lamar Jackson in his press conference so adamantly speaking about Rashad Bateman being wide receiver 1. Fair or foul, Chico?
Well, go ahead.
Over 50 receptions for Rashad Bateman this season.
I'll go fair on that. The leading receiver is going to be Mark Andrews by a mile. It always is. But again, I'm not surprised. Rashad Bateman's a great player. I liked him coming out of college. He went to Minnesota.
I think there are injury concerns that are something that are worrisome.
I mean, from a talent standpoint, production standpoint, DeAndre Hopkins dwarfs him. So if he goes to Baltimore, he's their number 1. But yeah, I'm curious to see where he ends up. I mean, it's no surprise to see that he's no longer a Cardinal. We thought at the very least it'd be a trade, but they just outright said, see you later. They're going to save about $8 million. So where he ends up next, we shall see.
That Baltimore Ravens receiver room is starting to look pretty crowded now. I mean, you can make the case that it looks like one of the better receiver rooms in the NFL. If, that is, they're able to sustain, I guess, long-term health. But you bring it in OBJ, Zay Flowers. You've already got Bateman coming back healthy. You mentioned Andrews as well. That sounds like a dangerous offense if they put it all together with Todd Monken.
I feel like, and again, important you mentioned Todd Monken. I feel like with the Ravens, though, we've done this for a few years now. Like where they've had, Hollywood Brown, or you know what I'm saying? Like guys that, this guy could stretch the field, this guy, and it just never has played out. Whether they get hurt, Lamar gets hurt, and the other key factor is, and this is what makes it so interesting now, is Baltimore with Todd Monken and not Greg Roman. How much of a different offense is this? I still think you got to have, you have a good running game. And you have a quarterback that still, I think, has to be a threat to run to be the best he can be and to help the Ravens the most. But, yeah, we'll see. Monken definitely makes this very interesting.
Well, we will keep it in the National Football League as I want to go on to...
What was that accent?
I have no idea.
Leg? All right,
the League. I forget what accent that is. I've heard it referred to as the League before. But I digress. All right. Well, let's move on. As the Kelsey brothers, did you know that they have a podcast together?
I did. Yes, very popular podcast.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is Travis was, I guess you could say, a little critical about the NFL's recent rule changes, and in particular, a couple of them. Now, the first one I'll ask you about is the kickoff change rule. Kelsey says that it makes it more boring. He says it's absolutely stupid. Do you think that Kelsey's comments being very critical of the kickoff rule change are fair or foul?
Oh, they're fair in terms of being accurate. I mean, he's not the only one saying it. Everybody, I think, feels the same way. Now, I mean, nobody's saying the kickoff is the best play in football, but the kickoff is still, or at least it was, I should say, a while ago, very exciting. But I mean, look, this is so easy. This is why I wish they would just be done with it altogether instead of doing this little process where we slowly rip off the Band-Aid. It's cover your ass, okay? They don't want litigation. They don't want lawsuits. CTE, they already got some, and, I don't think they've done a great job handling certainly ones like, and we've talked to Bernie about this, guys that played back in his day and whatever, and even now That's the reason when Roger Goodell says our number one priority is the safety of our players, he's saying it has to be because we'll get our asses sued, and we can't have that. So that's why, that's why this is all happening. But Travis Kelce's right. I mean, it does make it boring. I mean, just, you know what? Just give it to him at the 25 and be done with it. Just forget about the rules. Well, now you can college. Just take it at 25. We're done. I don't know.
So the other thing that Kelce was pretty critical of was the emergency third quarterback rule, which I kind of liked. I thought that was a good change because, I mean, just thinking about all of the past seasons with Browns quarterback issues, where it's like, okay, who are we on to this week? It feels like they have had so many run-ins where you could have used the third quarterback potentially in certain situations. Now, Kelce called that absolute BS. And he said that if the 49ers had a third quarterback, they would have gone to the Super Bowl, was his claim. I don't know if I totally understand where he's coming from with that, but I'm wondering if you think those comments are fair or foul, Chico.
Well, I'm going to go fair on it. Not that I think they would have gone to the Super Bowl, but I will say, here's the way I look at it. When you get to the postseason, and injuries happen, so I don't want to make it, hey, you get injured, you lose a key guy, them's the breaks. But if we're going to talk about from a popularity standpoint, and Kelce brought up popularity as far as the kickoff, and I agree with him 100%, then how much fun is it? I feel like this is akin to people saying, oh, I love watching a major in golf because the course is so hard that these guys they're terrible. I don't want to see an offense in the playoffs be basically handcuffed because they don't have anybody, or they have somebody that played quarterback, but it was 9 years ago. So I think he's dead on. I agree with both points. Now again, I know there's the roster, the number, and there's different pushback for it. I understand, but I think, again, if we're going to talk about popularity, which the NFL is all about, and all about eyeballs and being king, and they are, and they will be forever, it seems, and that's fine. Then I think you can't have in the playoffs a team just go, well, when did you last play? Oh, I ran the option in 8th grade. All right, you're in. Come on, it's the NFL.
Well, Chico, I want to make a transition to the hard court now.
You make a transition. You're a good transition player. I've noticed that. You like to get out in transition. You like to push the action ball.
Yes. So one player in the NBA in which some buzz has garnered surrounding his potential availability to other teams is the current NBA MVP, Joel Embiid, because the Sixers have had quite a frustrating run in Embiid's tenure where they look like one of the best teams during the regular season, and then they disappoint in the postseason. And obviously that team has to revolve around Embiid. He's the best player on the team. With that said, it sounds like the Sixers are opening up to the idea of trading him because, according to NBA insider Sean Devaney, he says the Sixers would like to trade him for a star-level player. And one name that he throws out that might be one of the only guys that really fits what the Sixers are looking for is Kawhi Leonard. Fair or foul, a Joel Embiid for Kawhi Leonard trade in the NBA, blockbuster of epic proportions, Chico.
Well, let's try to find a guy that can miss more games than Joel Embiid does. Wait, I got a name, Kawhi Leonard. And I mean, I love Kawhi's game, but the guy can't find the court. Joel Embiid, this is really a tough decision, and it's one that, honestly, there have been rumblings about this for a while, because you're right. If you have Joel Embiid, your offense has got to go through Joel Embiid, and it's, no ifs, ands, or buts. But the but is that what's best for a team if, he's one of those more traditional centers? Now, I'm not saying he's not athletic and can't step out, but he is more of that traditional, when I say traditional, like back to the basket center. You're not able to do as much, and certainly as much as a lot of teams do across the league, with guys that are more versatile. And, yeah, they're looking at, well, injury history. I mean, he's a great, great player. By no means am I, criticizing him or saying, but when you look at, it's all about, we got to build a team that's going to win a championship. You're a little bit handcuffed with Joel Embiid, if that makes sense. And I think that's what Philly is looking at now, not to mention, now you bring in a guy like James Harden. I mean, I don't know what the hell Daryl Morey was thinking there. But anyway, I can see it. And I think it makes sense. Now, again, are they going to get Kawhi Leonard, though? What? Why, of all the guys you would trade for, and again, Kawhi's a great player, but my God, like this guy, if it's a big game, forget about it. Like you can say, oh, well, manage his minutes because, everybody does it, but especially him during the course of the year. It doesn't matter. If you have a must-win in Game 4 of a playoff series, you think he's going to be there? No. And I know it's not his fault necessarily, but like, when do you just say, uncle, to move him for Kawhi Leonard? I mean, unless, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, especially the fact that they said, like, that might be the only guy that fits what the Sixers are looking for. That being said, I feel like I could come up with maybe a couple other superstars, just at least off a list who might be more appealing than Kawhi.
Boom, if you would like to come up with a couple more, or you're hinting that you would like to divulge, you're more than welcome to.
As a matter of fact,
it's a Friday. It's a free-for-all Friday.
It's Friday, Chico.
We call this a free-for-all Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, Chico, I'm going to take it in a completely different direction with this.
I knew
Joel
you would.
Embiid. Just as a quick follow-up, because in the past we have discussed how there's no way that a team would trade the first overall pick for Joel Embiid. Fair or foul, trading the second overall pick for Joel Embiid.
I mean, it all. Who's got the second pick?
I want to say Charlotte. Because Charlotte is a team that kind of they got lucky with their draft pick. That's not like the second worst team in the NBA. That is a team that I feel like could be like, we want to go into win now mode and we're not trying to develop someone. And Joel could be that veteran presence to bring in to really, in their vision, put Charlotte over the top.
Yeah, I'm going to be full disclosure here. I'm not going to pretend to know the Charlotte team inside and out. I mean, you're right. They're, they did get lucky getting two, and they're a better team than, the second worst in the league by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm going to say no only because like I said about Joel Embiid, I mean, this is the big question. This is the thing that holds it back is, okay, one, the injury history, which you can't ignore. But two is, if you're going to have a big, and I mean, back in the day, he would have thrived, and he still thrives. I mean, he won the MVP, for God's sake. But when you're talking about winning a title, the traditional center limits you. And so teams have to know that, and do know that, quite frankly, going in. I'll tell you what, this is one of the more fascinating debates because this guy's game is amazing. But you can only do so much when you're saying, well, we got to run our offense through him. Okay, I mean, that limits you a little bit. So it's tough.
All right, well, Chico, this one, first, the debut of soccer talk, football.
Did Jay Mass put you up to this?
No, and it's not really specific. I mean, it does pertain to something that happened on the pitch, but it's like post game.
On the pitch. What's the pitch?
That's what they refer to as the field. In some places, yes.
The pitch?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. I learned something. I'm going to write that down. Soccer field. I'm going to casually drop that to my buddy, John Massenon. say
Shout out J-Mass.
Yeah, shout out to J-Mass. I'm going to say, yeah, I was watching those guys on the pitch the other day, and he'll just go, "You're
His
such
eyes will widen.
actually they'll roll, and he'll just go, "You're such a dork." She's right.
All right. Well, do you know who Mohamed Salah is? You heard the name?
I've heard of guys named Muhammad, and I've heard of guys named Salah, but I've never heard of Mohamed Salah.
Okay, well, widely considered one of the best soccer players in the world right now.
Sure, yeah. Yep.
I don't know if I would categorize him with like Messi and Ronaldo at this point, but he's getting there. He's a premier goal scorer. Well, he tweeted out, I thought, a really heartfelt apology. I thought it was good. I mean, he said, quote, "I'm totally devastated. There's absolutely no excuse for this. We had everything we needed to make it to next year's Champions League, and we failed. We are Liverpool, and qualifying to the competition is the bare minimum. I am sorry, but it's too soon for an uplifting or optimistic post. We let you and ourselves down." Now, to me, and funnily enough, this tweet was just like bombarded with all hatred and like talking about how much he sucks and just take this L, enjoy that L. And
by his own fans or like
I didn't look into it close enough. It was just constant. It was from all directions. And I'm sure like Liverpool fans are probably devastated. You know, those hooligans, they can be pretty passionate about their teams. Now, with that said, Chico, despite all of his hatred that it received, that kind of makes it come off as little more of like a backfired approach. Fair or foul, more athletes should consider opening up about the way that these tough losses feel for them and how they feel about it.
Okay, I don't want to say they should, but I will say that the reaction. I've always said this. Now it goes for society as well, for the most part. I think we're still a forgiving society. Maybe not. Things have changed in our world, but I think in terms of sports and with sports fans are very forgiving. That's why I say about Kyrie Irving. Like, at one point, if Kyrie Irving gets to a point, and I don't know when this would be, I don't even know if it'll ever happen, but if Kyrie Irving ever got to a point where he's like, you know what? I screwed up, man. You know, I said some things that were ridiculous. I was frustrated. I did enjoy my time in Cleveland. The fans treated me very, very well. I'd say, okay, let's get the banner ready. Let's put the jersey up there. Like, that's how easy it is. And I think that's how easily fans are ready to forgive athletes when they make comments like that. Now, if you make excuses and it's tough in the moment, because if you get a guy right after a game, they're not robots. They're humans. They have emotions, and sometimes those run a little hot. But yeah, I guess in fairness to the question, yes, I would say fair, because fans are, I think, hungry for that stuff, and they're ready to forgive.
Now, Chico, to wrap things up here on today's edition of Fair and Foul,
yes,
let's take it back to where it all began today with DeAndre Hopkins, because after further examination, now there is nothing like reliable or nothing for certain, but I am seeing a lot of buzz on the Twitter sphere, a lot of hype leading towards DeAndre Hopkins veering towards New York. Team up with one, Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry.
Is okay, now be honest. Is the only reason you brought that up because you wanted to say Rodgers like that? Because you think it's hilarious. All right. See,
I love saying it.
I can appreciate it as long as you just tell the truth, and you told the truth.
Well, I did actually see a lot of buzz, and I think the idea of him teaming up with Garrett Wilson is pretty exciting. Fair or foul, DeAndre Hopkins and Garrett Wilson, top 3 receiver duo in the NFL.
You love this. I don't know. I'm thinking about the other. I like when you give me these questions, I need to be able to see.
You need more prep.
Like, have a list off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I would go foul only because neither one of those guys right now is like top 5. Hang on, because I know you're about ready to push back on Garrett Wilson. I love him too.
It's fair, he's too young.
After this year, he might be. Like he's unbelievable. So I would say foul. I mean, very, very nice 1-2 punch. But I'm gonna go foul on that.
Some that come to mind just off the top of my head are Los Angeles Chargers with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Although you certainly have injury concerns with them. Also, how about the Dolphins? Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, I was thinking of them. Who's opposite Justin Jefferson right now?
Thielen is no longer there, correct?
No, he's no longer there.
They drafted someone.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I think he's a good one. I mean, Jefferson immediately puts them in the conversation just because he's the best, I think. I mean, Cooper Kupp and, he did have some partners there for a while, but now they're gone. So, yeah.
Eagles, perhaps? I think the Eagles deserve a mention. Maybe even the Seahawks.
Okay. Philadelphia, yeah. Philadelphia's a good one.
A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, 2 very elite receivers.
Yeah, I think Devontae needs to be a little more consistent.
Sure.
But A.J. Brown, yeah, and you said, Seattle with DK
My favorite
Metcalf.
trio.
Yes, Jackson Smith and Tyler Lockett, I think, is one of the most underrated receivers.
That is fair.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to dispute that,
is
Chico.
fair, all right.
And that is fair or foul.
I think you have a man crush on the Seattle Seahawks.
I'm excited to watch them. And plus, I love Seattle. I mean, like that. Come on, that's where all the best music came from. Like from Hendrix to grunge, just all the best music.
So if you couldn't, if there were no Cleveland Browns to root for, would you be I think you might be a Seahawks fan.
It's interesting that you ask that because I really haven't I just love rooting for Ohio State players. I feel like it's more individual.
Are you serious?
It's more individual than team. I love to see Ohio State players succeed in the league.
Okay.
And so I guess by de facto, maybe I'm kind of rooting for the team. But I don't know. That's a lot of teams to root for, Chico.
That is. But I feel like you could make an argument for each one because you'd be like, oh, that guy's really nice. He does a lot in the community. That guy that you're talking about, Chico, he volunteers at a soup kitchen. So, all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to get back into the NBA, back into the Celtics Heat series. And look, this could all end on Saturday, and we're done. But now Boston's made it very, very interesting. Down 3-0. Now they're down 3-2. They play in South Beach tomorrow. If there is a Game 7, that would be Monday, I believe, in Beantown. And let's go back to earlier in the series, something that was said in a press conference. We'll do that when we come back. Want to hear from you as well, 216-626-7901. You can also tweet at us at Chico Show CLE. My personal Twitter is at Big Play Chico. And again, stream us on Twitter at Chico Show CLE and on YouTube, The Chico Bormann Show. Hit subscribe. You're ready to go. Back with more right after this. All righty, welcome back. It is the Chico Bormann Show as we wind down on this TGI Friday. By the way, Memorial Day holiday weekend edition. So not only did you make it to Friday, you made it to holiday weekend Friday. Memorial Day. We are going to be off. The show's going to be off on Monday. We'll be back with you on Tuesday, just to let you know. By the way, I have to give a shout out because I've gotten a few compliments on this shirt. This is a how can I get a better? Good. 3/4. Boom. Liking it. Yeah. A Cody Dowk original. We have our in-house artist, for those of you that don't know. And if you go to our Big Play store, I think it's just right there at bigplay.com. You can get that. Bohm often has a hoodie that he wears like every day. So if you want to be like Bohm, as many of the kids out there do, you can get that hoodie. And
I wish I had the Shaq sounder. Can you dig it? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I make you cringe?
Why would "Can You Dig It" fit there? It doesn't.
Because you were asking. When you stood up, you're like, is that good?
Honest to God, Bohm. Honest to God. Folks, I can't tell. And like, we should sell off like a day in the life or a week in the life of working with Bohm. Not necessarily like what I do. What I do, probably boring to many. But Bohm, like, to be able to get a front row seat to Bohm, people would really, now they'd understand, because I get a lot of people. We'll get back into the Heat and the Celts, by the way, in a moment. I get a lot of people that are like, so what's the deal with Bohm? He laughs a lot. I'm like, oh, and truth be told, I sought you out when I landed here, and I wanted you, and I'm glad that we're together because you're Bohm. But people like don't quite get the Bohm experience. And I think for me, it's been like years of obviously knowing you, working with you, but like working with you on Ohio State post-game shows where I swear to God, people, like there would be nights that Bohm wanted to wring my neck simply because I said, yeah, he is a great receiver. I don't know if I'd put him as elite. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? He's not no, not quite that animated, but I could see the beads of sweat building, the fire in his eyes, like Scott Farkas. So help me God, yellow eyes. He had yellow eyes. So help me God, yellow eyes.
You know I get passionate about my Buckeyes, Chico.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right, real quick, I wanted to go back to this Heat Celtics series because when they got down 3-0, we all remember, and I think they termed it something else. I'll go, Bohm, your interpretation. You like to call it internal discord. But there was no getting around it. Like Joe Mazzulla, this was not anything taken out of context. This was not anything, that's not what he said at all. No, he basically said, yeah, there's a disconnect right now. Myself, Jason, Jalen, whatever. What happens if the Celtics come back and win this series? And again, no team, 150 of them have ever done it. What if the Celtics come back and win this series? It's possible. And let's say the Celtics win the NBA championship. Truth be told, full disclosure, I want the Nuggets to win. But let's say Boston wins it. Like, it's been clear really all this year that Joe Mazzulla, what, Bohm?
Just thinking about all the podcasts in Boston.
Okay. It's been clear all year long that Joe Mazzulla, like, I wouldn't say he fell into it. Like, the whole Ime Udoka situation where he got in, we still don't even really know what went down. He had some kind of not so favorable relationship with somebody in house sales. I don't know who she was, but so they got rid of him. He was a great coach. He was a tough coach. The players liked him. The fans loved him. They won. So Mazzulla was kind of like, hey, we need somebody. All right, let's bring in Joe Mazzulla. I think even before he talked about the internal discord, this was like a foregone conclusion. This guy's gone. Like, he's not going to be here. And it almost sounds like it would be one of those mutual decisions. Not that I don't want to make it sound like there's a ton of animosity. Maybe there is, but I don't want to make it sound like that. But it's clear that Joe Mazzulla, I don't think, appears to be very happy with some of those guys, and certainly some of those guys aren't real happy with him. But here's the thing about internal discord, and I would venture a guess. Matter of fact, it's not a guess; it's a fact that if you look up Berea, Ohio, it comes up as the internal discord capital of the United States of America. So we know a little, I'm speaking from we know a little something about internal discord in Cleveland with the Browns. And remember what we always heard, well, and we've heard it with all sports and even growing up as a kid if you played, whatever. Winning cures everything, right? Does it? Does win? Now, again, I'm actually asking that question because really I don't know, because it was so bad, and you'd say, well, did they end up winning? Oh no, actually they went 0-16. Well, then 1-15. Like, you've never. I'm exaggerating, but like it never really until the Stefanski era, and I know 07 and early in the 2000s. I get it, but for the most part, it's been just losing, and there was no winning of any consistency, of any sustained winning to have it be something that cured it. This feels like it could be the ultimate test. Now, I don't think it would be the biggest shock if, like, they do win and then they go to the NBA Finals, they play well, but they lose and Joe Mazzulla's gone. But if I gave you this hypothetical right now, that Boston comes back, wins this series against Miami, against all odds, down 3-0. They win in South Beach tomorrow night. They win Monday at home at the Garden. Go ahead, Boom. With all the pot cars.
The wicked smart pot cars.
Yeah, there you go.
Wearing the khakis.
I got it's kind of like you gotta feed the animals so they'll
I need my fodder.
Yeah. He's a diva. Like, he needs his catches. He needs the football every now and then. But if they win Game 7 on Monday, it's Joe Mazzulla. I mean, now if he wanted to be back, again, I get the feeling this is kind of a mutual thing. Now, who wouldn't want to be the head coach of the Boston Celtics? I mean, there's only so many of those jobs. It's a storied franchise, blah, 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 all of that. And all of that's true. I'm so anxious to see it, not just because history could be made, but because I want to see how this whole Mazzulla thing plays out. Because, like I said, he didn't mince any words. He didn't pull any punches. He didn't hide from anything when he said, yeah, you know what? There's definitely a disconnect here. Now, all of a sudden, they've reeled off 2 wins. And by the way, like, these last 2 games, these last 2 wins, combined 30 points? They didn't trail at all yesterday. They didn't trail at all in that game. Jason Tatum, like I said, was playing a little frantic early. It seems like he's kind of figured out Miami's defense. Now, granted, they've had some guys out. I understand that. But he's figured out, okay, you guys are going to double team me. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to wait for that guy to get open. I'm going to make the right pass. And damn it, he's made the right passes. Nearly had a triple-double. Derek White and Marcus Smart. My God, what a game they played! Outstanding. And those are two defensive stalwarts. Got it done in the offensive end. So Boston they just might be clicking at the right time. Well, yeah, I guess what better time to click than when you're down 3-0, and if you lose, your season's over. But I think there's so much more to this. I mean, if they were able to win this series, how does that play out? Because, again, winning cures all. Does that disconnect just poof magically go away because they ended up winning the series? They got to the finals.
That's a great question, Chico. And certainly, I'm hoping that Boston loses the series, but it would be cool to see, and I think in a lot of ways inspiring, to see a roster come together like that when I was absolutely convinced that they would probably have to blow it all up. Because this team, it felt like it was crumbling in front of our very eyes. I mean, guys were opening up about all of this, as we like to say, internal discord and disconnect. And I think it would be a shocking story. And I know we've been talking about potential Disney movies the last few days. How about the coming together of the Boston Celtics down 3-0 to pull off a major upset victory like that?
Maybe a 30 for 30.
I mean, it has Disney movie potential. It's kind of like Cinderella story-esque.
No, it doesn't.
Coming down from 3-0, Chico, it's unheard of. Uncharted waters.
But see, you're and this is something you do often. You tend to go off the deep end with stuff.
I'm a hyperbolic person.
Yeah, you can be. You definitely can be. Like
exaggerative.
Are you sure that that team isn't maybe the best ever? Boom, I'm pretty sure. Really?
Let's reconsider.
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you about this because we still have days in May to tell you about it. So Swing for the Fences MLB tournament here on Tipico Sportsbook for the entire month of May, which is running out, but you still got time to do it. The more you bet, the more you score, literally. You make a $20 MLB bet on baseball with odds of at least minus 200. Could be straight bets, parlays, even same-game parlays. Top 100 bettors on the leaderboard will win a share of $100,000 in bonus bets on us for an entire year. Download Tipico Sportsbook with promo code CHICO, that's CHICO, to get started and start betting on baseball today. Bohm, are you laughing just because you want me to ask you why you're laughing? Because now
no, I tried to hide my face when I realized I was exposed.
I have to ask if maybe you've, there are certain things that will make you laugh.
Laughing gas?
Hysterically. Yeah, we'll use laughing gas. Have you ingested a bit of laughing gas, Bohm?
No, Chico, I was just thinking about Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. I'm thinking about the Cleveland Guardians this weekend. I know it's May, but I feel like this series, 7 games below 500, first time since 2015. And I feel like if they don't take 2 out of 3, at least 2 out of 3, and they're on the other end of it, they get 2 out of 3 taken from them or get swept. And I know, and I'm the one that's saying there's still a ton of baseball left to be played, and there is. But I don't know if they're able to dig out of the hole in time. Even though there's plenty of baseball to be played, I'm starting to wonder if some of these slumps, and look, if anybody should get a leash, it's the Cleveland Guardians. It's Terry Francona. It's so weird to me. I got to say this. Speaking of the idea of winning cures all, the Guardians, for the Browns, there's always that, you got to be there's that chance that they could be much better this year. You don't have a lot of proof necessarily, or that you don't have a lot of things to go on from previous years. The Guardians, all they do is win 9 out of 10 years, and I mean Tito's been outstanding. Yet people are very quick to pounce. That said, this weekend to me feels like a big turning point. Either they're going to start going and get it going, and not to say they're just, they're not going to have another slump, but if you go 10 games below 500 and you get swept at home, it's going to be ugly. And I know it's a tight clubhouse. It's not going to be, guys bickering at each other, because that's just not the culture they have. But there's a lot of pressure on these guys. There's been a lot of pressure on these guys because they have struggled. But it just, the thing about this is you keep saying, well, they're struggling. This is really important. It's important because the longer you struggle, the more difficult it's going to be to actually come out of this, because the pressure continues to build. You talk about a young team, which was great last year because it was like, they don't even know any better. They're just going out and having fun. Well, what also happens is with a young team is you start to really, really press and try to do too much. Is that a real thing? I think it is to a degree. Just like I think, guys, like I've been saying, the book's out on some of these guys in their second year after what they did last year, and they've been very slow as far as making the adjustments. Very slow. So we shall see. This is a big one. Shane Bieber tonight. Just make it interesting with some offense. If you're going to lose, just somehow, some way, make it entertaining for the fans. And I know, if you lose 10 straight because your pitching is just getting battered, but, they're hitting home runs and they're scoring a lot of runs, it's still going to be. But this has been going on for so long that I honestly, I feel like fans are just, well, 1, 2, 3, 3 up, 3 down. All right, well, you want anything? Beer? Yeah, good. All right, I'm going to go to the bathroom again because, these games are quick. These games are no time. So, got to get it done. Suspended Lions wide receiver not aware of gambling policies. Interesting, because what I'm hearing, by the way, and it's your boy. What about your boy? Chico, don't you think Jameson Williams is like the best rookie ever to come into the league? Absolutely, Bohm. No doubt about it. Well, no, because he went to Alabama after Ohio State. If he had stayed at Ohio State, then Bohm would agree.
I would say I would rank him behind the Ohio State receivers that came out that year.
Okay.
But just right behind.
Okay. Thanks, Bohm. So you remember late last month, Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams suspended along with 4 other players, violating the NFL's gambling policy. Williams did not gamble on NFL games. Because he didn't gamble on NFL games, he did not receive an indefinite suspension of at least a year. Instead, he received a 6-game suspension for placing an online bet while in a team facility. See, this is where, all right, I'm going to warn everybody. Here comes another Goodell rant. I understand this stuff is serious. Like I've always said with the whole Pete Rose thing, there's a reason why that, what if Pete only bet on his own team? Well, how do you know that he's not making moves according to what might work best, even if he is betting on his own team? Or you don't know. You don't know. And because there's that gray area, that's why they tell you don't do it. But now the NFL, who said they would never get in bed with gambling, have not only gotten in bed with it, they're having some wild parties. Let's move a team. Let's have a team in Vegas.
Things have gotten hot and heavy, Chico.
Let's have the draft in Vegas. Let's do all of it. And now we're hearing that, these Lions receivers, including Jameson Williams, but there may be more. There's going to be more. I don't think that you can, as commissioner, you can't make a bet. You can't place a bet at the team facility.
Now, if he placed that bet outside of the facility,
he's fine.
No suspension whatsoever.
Yeah.
No fine. Nothing.
Nothing. But because he made the bet, and again, it's important he wasn't. Now, if he placed a bet away from the facility on an NFL game, different story.
Yes.
But what that is it because that's sacred ground? Because that's holy ground? Because this is where the holier than thou crap really gets on my nerves with Roger Goodell. You can't do it in the sanctuary. My God. You mean in the same sanctuary where Daniel Snyder was filming his own Porky's and Jones and company with Dallas and all? Like, I don't know. The NFL is great. I can't wait for the season. It's entertaining as hell. But Roger Goodell, it's so funny because even long before the season starts, Roger Goodell is already on my nerves. It doesn't take a lot, by the way, but he's already on my nerves.
No gambling in church, Chico.
It is the sanctuary, Boom. It is the sanctuary.
That's why I said it.
All right. Yeah, I know, Boom. Thank you for clarifying, though.
You're welcome.
That's going to do it. You're welcome. We won't reveal who that is. You're welcome.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. All right. Boom, great job as always, kind of. Want to thank Erik Kuselias. He absolutely brought it again. If you missed it, go to Twitter, find at Chico Show. Well, follow. Hopefully you're already following along. At Chico Show CLE. You can hear that interview. You can see clips on YouTube. Go to YouTube. Type in the Chico Bormann Show. Hit follow. So many different ways to find us. Please do. We love having you, and also want your feedback as well. If you want to say, you know what, Chico, I think your take on Roger Goodell sucks, or I'm tired of Bohm laughing. It's getting on my nerves. Well, you can do that. I don't know if it'll change, but you can certainly weigh in. All right. Again, we will be off on Monday for Memorial Day. Back at you again on Tuesday. So, going to be an interesting weekend. Be safe above and beyond anything else. Be safe. But we've got hoops. We'll see what happens with the Celts in Miami. By the time we have our show Tuesday, we will know. The Celtics pull this off because Monday would be Game 7 if they get that far. And then the Guardians, obviously, this big series beginning tonight at home against the St. Louis Cardinals. So plenty to talk about when we come back. We hope you come back as well. Until Tuesday, folks, be safe. Make it a great weekend, everybody. See ya.